Ladies and gentlemen, fast fallers and floaties, high, low, and mid tiers, the dawn of a new Melee year is upon us, and with the 1200 attendee tournament plus a storied history that's seen players like Plup, Axe, and Zane ascend to new heights, Genesis continues to be the premier Smash event to kick off the new year. With 2 summit spots on the line, we will be treated to quite the Melee kickoff. Last year's Genesis was Melee's return to form, showcasing what a post-Slippi meta looks like, as we saw upsets left and right with Jmook's debut onto the greater Melee scene being the catalyst. Will this Genesis be as exciting? California's depth of talent will continue to be the target for every nightclub commentator, and with the majority of both NorCal and SoCal PR showing up, here are a few notable entrants that if you don't already know, you should. Umarth is the number 2 in NorCal, holding the title of California's number 2 Marth as well, just behind KoDoRiN. While he's had many a weekly win, be it at Guildhouse or Santa Clara Melee, he struggled at majors in the second half of the year, placing 25th, 49th, and 33rd at Wave Dash, Big House, and Main Stage respectively. However, he did have quite an impressive 13th place at Double Down, showcasing he has the skills to make it deep in bracket. With Genesis being on his home turf, the cheers from his fellow NorCal natives could be just what this Marth needs to propel him to greatness. Nuts 2022 was filled with many top 5 finishes at various SoCal weeklies, as well as 25th to 33rd placements at majors like Riptide and Big House, with his highlights being his pair of 13th place finishes at SoCal tournaments Wave Dash and Saving Mr. Lombardi. The Sheik will be joining the various Spacies from around California in defending their coast from the invading players. The Spacies in question consist of new faces and old, with the likes of Squid, Casper, Null, Lucky, and SFAT attempting to cement their name in the record books of California's finest. For Squid, the Falco who was once in contention for one of the world's best will need to pull out all the stops if he wants to return to his highest PR spot of 54th in the world and number 8 in SoCal. Casper has had a string of rather impressive results since the SoCal 2022 PR debuted, placing solidly in the 17th to 25th range at majors Wave Dash, Double Down, and Low Tide City. He managed to squeak out an impressive 7th at Saving Mr. Lombardi 3, beating out both Nut and Curve. While he's had the occasional 65th place finish at both super majors last year, those being Big House and Genesis, for anyone to doubt Casper's skill need only look to his success within region, as he's gone Game 5 with every top SoCal player and won against the majority of them. He's also in my pool. The top 3 California Foxes of Null, SFAT, and Lucky have all had similar track records in 2022, with all of them finding similar success in that 9th to 25th place range. However, it would seem that while SFAT has taken a step back from competing, he's more than capable of fighting right alongside the same level of talent that he's been since his top 20 debut back in 2013. Lucky's in a similar situation, as he's competed quite a bit less, but still finds a way to make top 32 and top 8 time and time again. Null has become the newest top Fox amongst the storied SoCal gauntlet of top talent, and while within region, he's seen much success. From weekly top 3 finishes, he's found that regional dominance may not correlate outside of your waterhole. His highest placements of 5th and 9th at Phantom and Gommel are paired with 3 17th place finishes, 2 33rd place finishes, and his lowest 49th place finish at Big House 10. It would seem to be the case that if Null is playing hot, he definitely has the skill to go the distance, but may have a consistency issue similarly to the rest of the greater Melee scene. There are a few specialty players whose true potential only comes out in certain conditions. Think Hoodie Mello, Face Mask LeBron, Untucked Kyrie, Jersey Biting Kobe, Flu Game Jordan, Mother's Day Mango, and Dewan Shroomed McDaniel during a qualifier. I'm not kidding, it's an anomaly how someone who has not competed in 2 months managed to beat out the likes of Solo Battle, Salt, and Triff to qualify for Day 2 of LSI, who also took shots during the set versus Triff, what the fuck, not to mention during his STL qualifier run, or his Smash Summit qualifier run, you get the point. I'm praying for anyone who has to face off against this embodiment of a Cinderella story. With all of the Californians gatekeeping deep runs in bracket, it would seem that challengers from all around the world will be looking to break through these fine smashers in hopes of picking up top player wins. Coming out of lockdown, Frenzy made his name known as one of, if not the premier international Falco. In 2022 alone, he managed to take wins on fellow top English Spacey Professor Pro, the pair of Rising Falcon stars Mech and Salt, 3 wins on Zuppy, as well as a win on SFAT. He took some in-region events as well as placed highly at all EU majors, including 9th at Fate 2, 4th at DreamHack Rotterdam, and 3rd at HF LAN. We all know he's Big Red, and while his feet may stick off the bed, will he continue to push the Falco meta further and further alongside the rest of the biggest birds? The other European Spacey in attendance, Pipsqueak, managed to squeak an impressive resume out during his last 2 treks in the States. Placing 9th at Lost Tech City and Big House, as well as 13th at Summit and LSI, his placements only tell half the story. Wins on Ginger, Aklo, Nun, and not to mention his pair of top 5 wins over both Mango and HBox have risen this European to new heights, being the 2nd highest ranked European in the top 100. Will he claw his way back through the never-ending American Spacies at Genesis? The trifecta of Canadian foxes, Zuppi, Sunsei, and Moki have all shined their way into the upper echelon of top talent, pioneering their own playstyles and making waves all over both the US and Canada. Starting out with Zuppi, it would seem that he's slashed his way through the cracked waves of Slippi kids as he's pushed his potential throughout the year. With multiple regional titles as well as wins on Bobby Big Balls, Salt, Swooper, Spark, Aklo, and Crudo to name a few, Genesis will be another opportunity for Zuppi to make another deep run. Sunsei's runs at Big House, LSI, and Summit propelled him into the conversation for top 20 in the world in the span of a month, and for good reason. He's shown proficiency in the fast faller matchup, beating out Pipsqueak, Salt, S2J, and Leffen twice. While his main stage performance saw him fall to a Falco and Magi and the top Icy's Slug, no one would be surprised if the Canadian managed to find his way into another top 8 at Genesis. Moki's last Genesis run saw him climb an insurmountable mountain of a loser's run, winning 7 sets straight against multiple top 100 players. And since then, the fox clipping phenom has found multiple top 8 finishes at majors like Battle of BC, Gommel, Mainstage, and Apex. While he might have had some middling results in between, if any doubt this fox's skill, you need only look at his losses at his last 3 open bracket majors, and you'd find that he's only dropped sets to Hungrybox, Zane, and Mango at Mainstage, Apex, and Big House respectively. The last Canadian hero we'll be discussing is another clip god in the form of the flashiest Falcon to grace a CRT, Nun. While Nun's first half of 2022 left everyone thinking that he was the new king of Falcon in Wizzy's absence, Nun found that staying at the top is just as hard as getting there, as after finding top 8 at 3/4 of the first majors he's attended, he would not find another top 8 for the rest of the year, dropping sets to Pipsqueak, Rishi, Aklo, and Dreffen. Will Nun keep his title of the highest placing Falcon at Genesis, or will any of the new Falcons take his throne? What would Genesis be without its Spacies? The event has always served up Foxes and Falcos in bulk, with this year being no different. Be it the South's ever-growing list of flashy Star Fox mains and Michigan's pair of laser-loving birds, we'll have our fill of high-level Spacey matches to rubberneck to. Kicking off our Southern Shiners, we have a pair of Falcos, Magi and Bobby Big Balls. 2 players, I might add, who are vastly different from each other. Magi's calm, cool, and collected aggression has led her to take wins over a variety of Spacies in Panda, Lucky, Sunsei, and Moki. It would seem her composure cracks against Floaties as she's picked up a couple uncharacteristic losses to Samiris and Panko. It would be a disservice to not mention her recent success in the Marth matchup, becoming the first Falco in over a year to not take 1 but 2 sets off the top player in the world, Zane, at Redemption Rumble, where she ended up placing 4th. Bobby Big Balls' hyper-aggression netted him a variety of online top placements, including an 8-0 run at the Redemption Rumble qualifier, but offline tells a bit of a different story. Having only found top 8 once at Shine, he struggled to stay at the top, finding numerous placements in the 9th to 33rd range, but seems to dominate at regionals, placing 3rd at Minnesota Monthly 6 and 1st at DreamHack Dallas. If Bobby wants to climb the ranks of both Falco and the top 100, a solid placing at Genesis would be the perfect start to this Glass Cannon's year. Our next 2 birds striving to soar are the pair of Michigan friends, KJH and Ginger. With KJH recently achieving the accolade of the most viewed Melee match of all time at Ludwig's Smash Boxing event, he'll need to polish his laser game as he hasn't entered a major tournament since August. With a high of this past year being his 5th place at CEO where he upset HBox, the rest of his results range from 17th at the last Genesis to 33rd at SmashCon. Growing pains come and go, especially when switching to a new character, so will KJH find his footing and reach the same top 30 ranking he once garnered? Ginger, oh Ginger, at the beginning of the 2022 Melee year, it was seen that Ginger would be named the 2nd best Falco in the world, only behind Mango, as he's had a more than impressive 9th place finish at Genesis and a regional tournament victory in Function 2. But just like Nun, he would find out how hard it is to stay at the top. 25th at Gommel, 9th at SmashCon, and 17th at Shine, losses to KoDoRiN, Mech, Skurzo, and Null. These were all respectable placements and losses, but for the 2nd best Falco in the world, he was yearning for more, and then a return to the beak at its peak at Riptide, where Ginger beat out Lunar Dusk, Moki, and Magi for 5th, and then followed it up with another regional win at Minnesota Monthly 8, Ginger's Revenge. All would seem more than fine even after placing 13th at Big House as Ginger beat out Magi once again, Cobalt, Spark, and Slug, but it would seem that consistency in 2022 was nowhere to be found as Ginger placed 23rd at LSI losing to Lucky, Fiction, and Pipsqueak, only beating Salt, and 25th at Mainstage losing to Dawson and Curve. While there was a return to form at Apex as Ginger beat the Swooper, Samiris, and Westballs for 9th, sandwiched between these 2 middling placements, Ginger will be hungry for a deep run at Genesis, and the Falco community as a whole will be cheering him on. Finally, the current 2nd best Falco in the world and California weekly farmer, Fiction. This man does not lose at weeklies for one, as he has won 29 in a row, with his last loss being in August at Melee at Verdugo 156. Outside of his weekly dominance, Fiction has had a more than impressive year, especially after switching to Falco. placing in top 8 4 times with his highest placement being his run to 3rd at Double Down. He's also dominated regionals, winning We Need Some Space 3, Steelcraft Summer, and while there have been some pains here and there given his 33rd placing at Main Stage and 21st placing at LSI, Fiction's tenacity has awarded him wins over the likes of Mango and Plup in the past, and we could see it happen again. Shifting to the Foxes in attendance, there are more than a few notable entrants. Skurzo will be representing our Midwest talent as he was ranked quite highly on the summer MPGR and has solid showcasings no matter where he travels to. Not to mention the sheer amount of events the Chicago #1 has entered, 16 majors and regionals during the 2022 season with placements as high as 7th at SmashCon and as low as 65th at Big House. Skurzo is the Midwestern pride, and will always find a way to remain more than relevant as he continues his travels demonstrating his prowess in a 20-year-old children's party game. Panda's handful of events in 2022 showcased his ability to compete with the gatekeepers of top players as he found some impressive wins over Panko, Callball, KJH, Crike, Gatsu, and Crudo, but he had not seen a deep run as of yet. Genesis could be his breakout tournament that will put his name on the back of every viewer's mind. SFOP managed to propel himself above and beyond the seedings and arbitrary rankings as he competed in the back half of 2022. Known for being the flashy online Fox, offline he won a regional in DreamHack Atlanta defeating Gatsu, Mewtwo King, and Cobalt twice, as well as a 5th place at the major Lost Tech City where he upset SFAT and KoDoRiN. Coming off of 2 relatively respectable performances with his 13th placement at Main Stage where he beat Joshman and Crudo, and 7th at Redemption Rumble beating Zealot, Fat Goku, and Spark. With this being SFOP's 4th open bracket tournament in 1.5 years, we'll see how well he performs when faced with the sizable Genesis crowd. Finally, there's the King of New York, the New Age Fox who's risen out of Tri-State as the staple of the Brotherhood. When Aklo shows up to tournament, you can bet that he's toppling your projected brackets time and time again as he continues to quote-unquote overperform. First at Nightclub VIP over Cody, 7th at Pound beating Skurzo, Nun, and Swooper, 17th at Big House 10 beating Azel and Swooper again, 9th at LSI beating Shroomed, S2J, Fiction, and trading sets with Pipsqueak, and a year-high 5th at Apex defeating Dreffen and both Nun and Cody once again. Not to mention he's on a hot streak, placing 9th at Main Stage running through Fox's Chape, Fat Goku, and SFOP, and 1st at Redemption Rumble winning with Link over KoDoRiN, as well as tearing through Spacey, Zuppy, Zealot, Fiction, Magi, and Cody for the 3rd time. Will Aklo be the proof that Tri-State is better than Cali to the dismay of all of SoCal? Right alongside the Fast Fallers are the Falcons, and Mech, who is now a Ganon main. I don't know, but betting your channel points on these fine upper fanatics can at the bare minimum allow you to cheer them on as the combos continue to roll in. Mech's 2022 saw him grind event after event, and it would seem the same remains to be true, even after making the switch to Ganon, as he continues to grind online, entering numerous netplay tournaments and weeklies within Chicago. How the Ganon will fare against the competition is what will keep all eyes on this push-up master. Salt's 2022 elevated her play to new heights as she had many a tournament where she went above and beyond expectations to defy any and all doubters. Another grinder in her own right, she's maintained her #1 spot in Dallas-Fort Worth, tearing through locals time and time again. Outside of her local placement, she's made herself a threat in major brackets, placing as high as 7th at Lost Tech City and by taking sets over Palpa, Rishi, Magi, Face Roll, and Polish. Attending over 50 in-person events since the start of the 2022 Melee season, Salt will be the Falcon to watch as she continues to climb the PR and tournament placements. The Californian hero and recent NorCal dweller Johnny S2J Kim was looking quite dominant in 2022 as he managed to place in top 8 at multiple majors, take sets off of some of the world's best, as well as maintaining a hold on the SoCal scene. While in the last few weeks he struggled with placing 9th at both Redemption Rumble and Scuff World Tour where he only found wins on Joshman and Professor Pro, with the crowd behind him you can bet that almost every stock has the potential to be a Johnny stock. A Sheik renaissance has been slowly but surely dwelling upon us as Jmook spearheaded the Sheik meta with players like Plup, Leffen, and Crudo joining him in developing the ninja further and further. Aside from Jmook, this weekend we will see 3 Sheiks of a higher caliber all challenging the various fast fallers in attendance. J-Flex has pushed any and all doubters back into their place as he's consistently found top 3 placements at the Tri-State staple, the Nightclub, as well as 9th to 17th placements at all of the majors he's attended. Along the way, he's managed to win against the likes of Umarth, Spark, Moki, and Toussaint. If J-Flex wants to see as much success as the other J-Sheik in attendance, he will have to make a dominant run. Spark has remained at the peak of Sheik for quite some time, having been ranked highly on the MPGR since 2019, and for good reason. Wins on S2J, Bobby Bigballs, Ben, Lunar Dusk, and Salt this year alone. While his consistency has been a little lackluster, this is more of a reflection of the required skill it takes to make top 8 after top 8. Sparks had placements as low as 25th, which were balanced out with 9th place finishes at Apex and multiple 13th place finishes at Shine, SmashCon, and Wave Dash. For Spark to retain his spot in the top 30, he will have to do so against the ever-growing list of top-level Slippi kids. KoDo's in a similar position as Spark, with similar placements. However, KoDo's highs are a bit higher, with multiple 5th place finishes and wins over Pipsqueak, Wally, Zamu, Spark, IBDW, and KoDoRiN. All the while maintaining dominance in Florida, placing highly at the weeklies Smash the Scene and Melee at the Lucky Straws. Florida historically has always been a strong scene, with players like Hungrybox, Mewtwo King, Plup, and Wizzy all coming from there. However, the new blood of Panda and Kruda are making their case for carrying on the torch as some of the older players retire or go relatively more inactive. Look, with the ever-growing catalog of Spacies, it's become apparent that there is a need for Floaties to rewrite the fast faller rhetoric. The peaches at the forefront of this at Genesis are the trifecta of Kalamazoo, Wally, and Polish, all of whom have had rather inconsistent appearances. Wally has played at 9 majors and numerous weeklies this past year, with his highlight being his 9th place run at SmashCon, where after upsetting Zane in pools, Wally would also defeat Skurzo before losing to Krudo and Axe. However, aside from this, it would seem that he could not crack top 16 at any other event, with his highest placement being 17th at both Riptide and Pound. Polish is in a similar position with a bit higher consistency, placing in the 9th to 25th range as they racked up a number of top player wins including Zamu, Lunar Dusk, Toussaint, Fiction, and of course their star-studded win over Amsa at Pound, solidifying their place as one of the top peaches. Kalamazoo's whopping 3 major appearances left everyone befuddled as to where to rank the Californian Peach. A stunning 7th place finish at Genesis where he beat KoDoRiN and SFAT was followed up 6 months later at the Big House 10 where he would lose to Duck and Toussaint for 49th, and then at the LCQ at LSI he would defeat CPU Zero, Phil, and Mega Xmas for 17th, just barely missing out on bracket. A true wildcard indeed. Will Keizu give us another Cinderella run at Genesis? The pair of East Coast Tri-State floaties of Swooper and Toussaint are poised to be staples of Tri-State Melee, as Swooper gave Samus new life and Toussaint has been called the second best puff in the world. With wins on IBDW, Skurzo, Slug, and basically all of Tri-State, Swooper has seen much success in 2022, like his 9th place finish at Pound and 3rd place finish at Nightclub VIP, but still struggled in out-of-region events like his 17th to 49th placements at various majors. It wasn't until Apex where the Samus main would find another top 16. His floaty partner in crime, Toussaint, has seen a tad bit more consistency. Multiple weekly wins, positive head-to-heads against the majority of Tri-State, and 3 17th place finishes and a 13th place finish at the Big House 10, where he defeated Kalamazoo, Spud, Lucky, The Real Thing, and only lost 2 Game 5 Heartbreakers against the Californian fast fallers of Mango and S2J. Toussaint has shown how far someone other than Hungrybox can push the pink balloon. We've talked about all these top tiers, but there's one more class of characters we need to discuss, as all of these players continue to pioneer their respective characters without much help. My favorite Mario brothers will be in attendance, as both Eddie Mexico's Luigi and Franz's Dr. Mario will be fighting against the endless gauntlet of top tiers. Both players have turned heads this year as Eddie slowly but surely improved his 33rd placements into 17ths, culminating in his run to 3rd at Smash Factor 9 where he beat Chape, S2J, and Lucky before falling to Meds and Wizroad. His end of year was a tad tumultuous as he placed 9th at the LSI LCQ and 9th again at Saving Mr. Lombardi 3, only to lose to Typhoon and Amsa at main stage for 33rd. Franz, on the other hand, continues to terrorize SoCal weeklies, as well as regionals like Saving Mr. Lombardi, where he placed 5th in part due to him upsetting KoDoRiN. Out of region, Franz has found multiple 13th and 17th place finishes at Wave Dash, Big House, and Lost Tech City, not to mention upsetting some of your favorite players, including but not limited to Ober, Azel, Bobby Big Balls, Polish, and the aforementioned Eddie Mexico. Both of these players are crowd favorites, and as they continue to dominate, top players tier list be damned. Okay, we've seen not 1, not 2, but 3 yellow mouses arise from the mountain of middle talent as Ralph, Swift, and Axe throw tier lists and seedings out the window as they continue to pick up more and more unexpected wins. The newest Pokemon trainer to grace the Melee scene, Ralph has torn through the NorCal scene with high placements at Guildhouse, Berkeley Melee Mash Fest, and Melee at Blackthorn. His big breakout came from winning the California Regional Nightlife Level Up where he beat Keizu and SFAT twice, then he would find a relatively expected 33rd place finish at Big House 10, as well as placing 17th at LSI LCQ. A successful summit campaign introduced the NorCal Pikachu to the greater Melee scene, and while he failed to find any notable wins, he solidified his place as a true Pikachu main with a Fox secondary instead of vice versa. This was reinforced during his main stage performance as he placed 17th, beating out Raikin, Dark Atma, Umarth, and Slowking before falling to Polish. Genesis is California's biggest major, and in his backyard no less, Ralph could prove to be the newest threat to Axe's Pika crown. Axe has had 2 stories this year. One of a top player struggling in the post-Slippi meta where he was dropping uncharacteristic sets, and one of eminent success that reflects his historic rise with multiple top 16 and top 8 finishes, ascertaining wins over the likes of Fiction, KoDoRiN, Wizrobe, Jmook, and Zane, and only losing to those ranked in the top 20. Since his return to form at SmashCon, where he silenced all doubters by placing 5th, tearing through Null, Moki, Wally, and Rishi, Axe's worst loss has been Magi, who seems to have the Falco Pika matchup on lock, and barring a single Moki loss, he's only lost to those in consideration for top 10 in the whole world. Plus trading sets with Wizrobe, who appears only when summoned by the Falcon Brotherhood. In any case, Axe is back, and has used his last 10 events to prove that he is better than the haters who continue to write him and his character off. Axe has been in grand finals of this event before, and no one would be surprised if he managed to make it there again given the right bracket. Look, I am sorry, but I literally have no idea where to put KoDoRiN because aside from Zane, he's the best Marth of the tournament and has enough notoriety at this point to be given the title of the Gatekeeper, even when he's dropping sets to Rising Fox mains. A continued top 8 threat as he's found his way into Championship Sunday at 7 events in 2022 and top 16 at every event he's attended. Being one of the most consistent players that poses a threat to the upper echelon of players is no small feat, especially given his hot streak of recent events placing 7th at Main Stage, 9th at Scuff World Tour, and 2nd at Redemption Rumble, managing to beat out the likes of Aklo, IBDW, Fiction, SFOP, and his longtime demon Axe. For KoDoRiN, it's all but guaranteed he will end up either in the latter half of Day 2 or in Championship Sunday. For the first time at an open bracket major since the return to in-person events, all of the Titans, Gods, Big 8, whatever you want to call them, will be in attendance, as Plup, Leffen, Jmook, Hungrybox, IBDW, Amsa, Mango, and Zane are giving us something amazing to behold. We haven't seen something like this since, well, Genesis 8. Fitting, isn't it? The monk that resides in the Pacific Northwest is descending from whatever temple his Sheik and Fox reside in, as Plup will grace us with his presence once again at Genesis. Having only attended 7 events in 2022, he placed top 2 at 4 of those events, 9th at 2, and 13th at 1. Plup beat out Magi and HBox for 1st at CEO and garnered wins over Wizrobe, KoDoRiN, Lod thrice, Jmook, Amsa, Hungrybox thrice, and Zane during his few appearances. While his last back-to-back events saw him take a 9th place finish, drop an uncharacteristic loss to Fiction, and he failed to bolster his head-to-heads with any of the other top 8, we did see him call the field for the most part, defeating J-Flex, Wizrobe, and Joshman. The Plup Club remembers the Genesis 5 run and will be cheering for him to repeat such a great feat. Europe's undisputed #1, Godslayer turned sponsor, and Smash Discord pundit Big Left has continued to find ways to fan the flames of Twitter, all while dealing with some of the worst controller luck in history. His gameplay, however, has yet to falter as he found 2 tournament wins in Battle of BC and DreamHack Rotterdam, 5 other top 8s, and only 2 lackluster performances. Aside from his Summit and Big House performances, Leffen's ability to pull a deep run out of a hat leaves fans in awe. How informed Leffen will be remains to be seen, as he continues to complain about the lack of grinders in EU, taking 3 of the top 10 spots on the Slippi ladder to prove a point playing secondaries like Mewtwo. Aside from this, we know the prowess he has in all matchups, as he's beaten every top player on more than one occasion and has the ability to conquer any would-be bracket demon. Our top Sheik, Jmook, remembers the last Genesis quite well, as he made grands for the first time in his career as the 21st seed. Since then, Jmook has made grands at 3 other majors and beaten every top player. While his head-to-head against a certain Puff may be a bit disheartening, his consistency is on another level, as he's only dropped 3 sets to players outside the top 8, losing to Axe twice and Slug once. If he can solve the Puff matchup, every other character falls to this tech-chasing fanatic. Genesis is what began Jmook's incredible rise to the top of the Melee hierarchy. Will this Genesis be his next push into becoming the 19th person to ever win a major? It's time to talk about one of the 2 former gods of the game that still competes, Hungrybox. Having won 3 majors in 2022, Hungrybox propelled himself into the race for #2 alongside the likes of Cody, Amsa, and Mango. While he had lacking head-to-heads against the majority of the top 8, he only dropped 5 sets outside of these players, with his worst loss being to KJH at CEO. He continues to be the peak of consistency, and even after competing for close to 15 years, Hungrybox is still towering over the field, and at one point this past year, people were calling him the best player in the world. Hungrybox's GOAT stock continues to rise each year he competes, rivaling that of Armada and Mango. And if he wins the most stacked tournament in the post-lockdown Melee era, that stock could even surpass some of his longtime rivals. Possibly changing his tag to Cody or Schwab or Corey, IBDW stamped his ticket to the top in 2022, placing first at 3 tournaments and had one of, if not the best head-to-head chart in 2022. He continues to impress and dominate the majority of his competition, barring the pains of the Spacey Ditto reflected by his losses to Aklo, Leffen, and the horrid head-to-head he had with Mango, being 1-7 with the GOAT in 2022. He comes from one of the strongest Smash scenes and has mountains of regional practice at his disposal. Cody's last wins at Majors came in the summer of Smash, and he's long overdue for another trophy to go with his Summit ones. Could Genesis be the time he wins his first Super Major? 2022 was the year of the Yoshi, as AMSA found 3 major titles and garnered positive head-to-heads over the majority of players. While he started off the year with a 5th place at Genesis, a 3rd place at Pound, and a 4th place at Battle of BC, he had a slight hiccup at Ganon, placing 9th, losing to the 2 international foxes of Moki and Joshman. But all doubt was quickly replaced with glee as he placed 2nd at Double Down behind IBDW. Then, as AMSA would go on a world tour of wins, taking trophies in Japan, Europe, and after a 4th place finish at Lost Tech, he would find his first American major win at Big House 10, then another win at Apex, and then another win at Scuff World Tour. AMSA's year of dominance has shown that his win at Big House was not a fluke, but a shift in the hierarchy of the top 5 as he's propelled himself into conversations for the top 3. Genesis would culminate his efforts and net him the other Super Major title, as well as put any would-be doubters back into the abysses of Reddit. For Mango, he, like Axe, has shown us 2 sides. One of a clear top 10 to 20 player that placed 9th at Genesis due to a loss to Fizzwiggle, managing a loser's run that had people in awe as he tore through Cliché, SFAT, Bobby Big Balls, and Axe before falling to Hungrybox. He would then place a lower 13th at Pound, losing to Laud and Fiction while only picking up wins on Calvar and J-Flex. Then Summit came and went, and with only finding wins on Joshman and Jmook, he would fall to KoDoRiN and Hungrybox for 9th. By this time, everyone on Twitter, Reddit, and everywhere else was painting the narrative that Mango had lost his touch and we wouldn't see Mango win without some serious shifts in gameplay. The kid would not take this lying down and slowly but surely silence any and all doubters. 5th at Gama, only losing to Zane and IBDW, 3rd at Phantom, losing to Zane, and 4th at Wave Dash, losing only to Hungrybox and Jmook. This Mango was seen as possibly the gatekeeper to the top, and his rank of number 11 reflected this. Then, the second half of the year showed us the other side of Mango, a clear contender for best in the damn world. 1st at SmashCon, 5th at Shine, 1st at Lost Tech, 2nd at Big House, and while there was a slight hiccup at LSI where the GOAT would place 7th, losing to Slug and Pipsqueak, he found a way to bounce right back, placing 1st at back-to-back events, Summit and Main Stage. A semi-inebriated Mango would even place 3rd at Scuff World Tour, trading sets with HBox and falling to AMSA. This is the kid we all know and love, as Mango's return to form was welcomed by all throughout the scene. Mango has not held a Genesis title since its first iteration back in 2009, and wouldn't it be fitting if the crown went back to its original holder? Something I believe that goes overlooked in the scene is the fact that we may have someone who will three-peat a Super Major, a feat that has not been achieved since Armada at the same tournament series. Zane is riding high on his back-to-back Genesis victories, and if he three-peats, he will rival one of the GOATs in terms of notoriety. For Zane, this may just be another day in the office as he continued to make top 8 at every event, even if he's upset along the way. His lowest placement in all of 2022 was 5th, and he held major medals to put alongside his Genesis and Shine trophies. Finding first place at LSI, Shine, Pound, and Genesis 8, it was made clear to all of us that Zane's dominance in the online era was no fluke, and none of us would be surprised if 2023 paved the way for him to elevate his legacy to even further heights. But what do you think? With Armada commentating some of the best Melee to date, the stars have aligned for these players to showcase their skills. Let us know who you have winning the Super Bowl of Smash in the comments below. This has been TurndownforWalt. Thank you to our top tier patrons and YouTube members, Avishua Stein, Dorian, Eric is Cool, NNG Esports, Storm, and Tingly Jungle for supporting the channel. And since you're still here, maybe click on this video and watch some more sick Melee. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.